Alright guys, welcome back. I am continuing the series on unwrapping and prepping a model for use in Unity using Maya and Photoshop. And at this point in the pipeline, we have unwrapped our 3D model. It's got a pretty good set of UVs. He has an ambient occlusion map baked. He has, we've done this in a mirrored fashion, so all of the details um, for the most part are mirrored in the same UV space with the exception of the face. You can see it's got unique space, um, UV space for us to be able to put some interesting details that aren't mirrored. So I am going to now show you how to paint on a texture in Photoshop. There's several tutorials, but I'm just going to show you our pipeline real quick. So I have the model here. Photoshop only takes OBJ files. It doesn't take FBX or MA or anything like that. So it may take Collada files as well, but I don't really mess with those anymore. So I'm gonna, with this selected, I'm gonna do an export selection. I'm going to get the pertinent folder here, and I'm just gonna call this projectile bot. I'll just call them OBJ. We should have the OBJ. If you don't have this in your list, you probably need to go into Windows settings. Let's see what it's called. Let me just get out of here. Windows settings preferences and plugin manager, and make sure that this OBJ guy here is loaded or auto loaded or both. So let me just save preferences. Hopefully it'll auto load it in the future. So I'm going to hit export selection. I'm going to find that folder real quick again. I'll do projectilebot.obj and make sure OBJ is actually selected. And we are going to export it. And back in Photoshop, we will open up the OBJ file, which you can do since Photoshop 4, CS4. Not Photoshop 4, that's really old. I don't think it has a concept of hard edges. That's fine in here because you're going to see the, it is a little odd, isn't it? No, I guess the whole thing is that way. Anyway, this with the K key, you can go into your 3D transform tool. This tool is a little, this camera especially, this camera control is a little wonky, especially when it comes to like this definition of default angle is weird. It doesn't seem to represent any like standardized angle, or it's not like a 3/4 or anything like that. So anyway, moving beyond that, these orthographic ones do work. So front looks like front. But what you have over here is you have a 3D asset that's linked, and you also have a diffuse texture for it, which is the texture channel. It's linked to pretty much nothing right now, but you can come down here and select, well, you can double click on it and actually jump into the texture. And it knows that it's not really linked to anything yet, so it's not going to, it's going to have to ask you to save it. But what you want to do is in the 3D materials, when you double click on this guy, so let's just say I'm in this other window, I double click on here, it's going to bring up the 3D materials. You're going to want to find this material that's down here, this diffuse material. You want to click on this icon right here, and it's going to ask you to let you load a texture. And with that, you can find your diffuse texture, press open, and there you go. You've got your texture on here with the wireframes and everything. And our shading even helps it, defy those soft edges that they've been showing us in here. So yeah, it's really, really cool. At first, when I showed this to the artists on the team, they were a little skeptical, and both of them they didn't do it at the same time, but both of them within 24 hours of trying it, they came back and they were like, this is so incredible. And once you have this here, you're going to end up with a different file. It's this PSB file. I'm not even sure what the advantages of that format, why Adobe uses that over PSD when you have a linked thing. But basically, you're going to, from this point forward, let's go back into the 3D object. I'm just going to close that guy out. When you go to save this, it's going to say, well, this 3D file is obviously not a PSD, but I can save it for you as a PSD. And so that's what we're going to do. At this point, I usually make a 3D TX file. And this is the one that the artists are going to work from this point forward until we're ready to go into Unity. And so what we have is the textures here. We've got all of our layers. We can turn our UVs off. I can hit Command S to save, come back in here, and it updates on the model. So now we have like real-time tweaking of the texture in a 2D space here, as well as a 3D space. And so I can literally come in here and just paint red, Command S, come back in here, and it's painted onto our 3D object. Even cooler, you can create a new layer in Photoshop. In this document with the 3D, you can actually, let's just paint a little eyeball or something. And you can hit Command E for merge down. It's over here, merge down. So you can hit Command E and it drops into the diffuse texture. So if we wanted to see what it does with our merge, we can go back over here and verify this too. It updated this. So it's a really, really cool process, very, very seamless and fluid. So over here, you're going to see, this is where we start getting into our mirrored edges, right? So these are the only unique non-mirrored faces over here. These guys are unique. So once we drop that down, you're going to see it appear on the other side. So it's really, really cool process. It's you definitely need to be careful of the angles at which you paint, because it's going to basically, it's sort of like in Unity, it's like ray casting paint down at the angle you're doing it. So sometimes it's a little meticulous, but I would say you would lead with working over here. Didn't look like it saved that. Let's double click on it again. There we go. I would always, once you finish getting out of the texture, just close it and always reinitiate contact with the texture by double clicking on the diffuse channel. And that'll just be keep you safe, because all these are getting generated in a temp file and sometimes it loses a connection. But anyway, you can save here, and this file is basically now a 3D file and a texture file for you. So there may be ways to tweak the lighting to allow for normals. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, that's basically it in a nutshell. So this model is optimized. It's got the mirrored UVs, it's got the ambient occlusion, and it's ready to go to our artist, so he can make it look a tad better than this. So I'll shoot another video when that's done, and I can just show you guys the process of getting it into Unity. Thanks.